Toy Design Co. presents real people, real stories, your inspiration. You're watching Raven Maven.
So, we can find City of Walls on, as you mentioned, Webtoon, which I want to tell people allows creators to publish comic books and share all for free $99. So yes, you can find City of Walls on there. And when I started to read the book, I also read some reviews. Some good and some bad. So my question is, how do you guys handle criticism?
Well, I actually kind of love names. I can write them down, find out where they are, IP addresses, super easy. Well, I actually kind of love it. I love the fact people like take the time to actually like comment on it, because I mean, the worst thing is people be indifferent to it. We didn't be like, apathy, like, whatever. But if people literally are like, oh, I don't like this, I like this, they're paying attention to it.
If you cared enough to say something.
You know, we got a significant amount of people who are super positive about it. We got every once in a while someone will be like, oh, I don't like this, or what's this? When are you guys doing this? And like, that's fine. Like, I like interacting with them, writing back to them, saying stuff like, oh, you know, we were going for this or that. Or sometimes they say something bad enough, I might just like dislike it. I won't say anything because I think that's just seems like a waste of time. But the people who take the time to write something nice, I'll write back to them and be like, thank you guys very much. Or if they say they like the art, I'm like, oh, A.K, I'm like, he's a great artist, and I definitely thank them. Anybody who takes the time, I take the time to respond back to them.
Right. Over for you, have you read any of the reviews?
Yeah, I read them. I take it all in stride. I didn't do a lot of that in the beginning because I was so insanely busy making sure there was a comment there to comment on. Yep. But I take it on stride. There's a Maya Angelou quote that I don't remember exactly, but I always keep in the back of my head, which is when it comes to comments, you have to take the good with the bad, meaning you can't accept one and reject the other. So I kind of always keep that in the back of my mind and don't get too caught up in it. I think the Game of Thrones people, the way that they handled that entire thing, I think is one of the best examples of it that I've come across recently, where they just like, you know, trust in what you're doing and kind of stay away from all of it, the good and the bad. So I know towards the end I started doing it more because I'm at the end and I don't have to worry about influence and things like that. So that's like the worst thing, because even if people really like what you're doing, if you start pandering, you screw everything up. So I think that's kind of just how I did it. I didn't. It's like like Shaun said, man. It's to affect somebody enough for them to feel compelled to comment at all is a really great achievement.
That means they're engaged.
Yeah, exactly. It means that you're doing something. And I know that one time I read a comment that was one of the coolest comments I ever read, one of the best compliments, and all the person said was, yes, I'm the first person to comment on this week's episode. And it was like, wow, that's freaking awesome. This person was like sitting there looking at the clock, waiting for the episode to drop, went through the episode, and then like was beaming on the computer like that's cool. Like that was like a real like watershed moment for me. That was awesome.
I'm shedding a tear right now.
My favorite comment was, please don't kill them, please don't kill them.
Yes, I remember that one.
Oh, that's my favorite comment. I'm like, oh, really into it.
But don't insert the black girl and kill her, please. Do you guys have any desire to bring City of Walls to big screen, or perhaps turn it into like an animation series?
Definitely. There was one conversation where I knew me and Abetta were in the same mind space. We were talking, and I was just like, we're like, ultimately, what do you want to do? I'm like, I think I don't know, I said it, he said it, like both of us were like, I would love this to be an anime. And he was just like, yes, I would love this to be an anime. I'm like,
I love anime.
Things about this thing.
Wink, wink, nod, nod.
Exactly.
I just, Netflix I feel like on every episode I talk about Netflix. I watch a lot of Netflix. No, right?
Netflix.
I need to check, because I'm plugging y'all in every time. But they dropped Castlevania.
Yeah, I just watched it.
It's awesome. Like, if you haven't watched it, and I'm just annoyed. It's kind of like the Titan
Oh, Attack on Titan.
Attack on Titan. That annoys
There's
because
a lot of free
they're
press.
just too short.
Yeah, 4 episodes.
Yeah, like I was like, oh god, like
Well, I mean,
I need more.
I think like the story behind that was that they weren't sure
Where it's gonna go.
where it was gonna go.
Yeah.
And then it was like fiendishly consumed within like the first 12 hours of release. Like, okay, season 2 is Greenland. Which Netflix does.
You
a
need
lot.
to get on Netflix, man. City of Walls on Netflix.
Yeah, I like
You listen
that.
to
I do a
Netflix,
lot.
that need to happen. The City of Walls is dope.
Yes, sir. That would be pretty awesome.
That would be friggin' awesome.
Yeah.
Speaking of major films, or how do you guys feel about how do you guys feel that black people are much more? Do you guys think that black people are more visible in the world of comics, or?
A little bit. I think they need to be more visible.
Okay.
Whether or not it's the character, I definitely think the creators need to be more visible. You see a lot of, I mean, one of the things I've always said, whether it's comics or video games, or it's not only about celebrating the characters, whether they're black or color, that it's also celebrating people who are creating them. So you might be reading this book and you have no idea that this person is a person of color drawing or creating it. And like,
Right.
if you knew, you would be like, okay, I can do that too. Or this is great that we're doing this. Just celebrate it, get out there more, get your faces out in public, just to let people know.
I'm glad you said that, because that's like the whole premise of this show, is that I want to show other black people, people of African descent, that we are here.
We're
Here's where the
Right.
black people
We're
are,
here.
and
We
we're
are here.
doing it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that is the actual name of an organization.
Yeah.
Here are the black people. It's a diversity program that the One
Yeah,
Club
that's-
runs.
that's
And it's freaking awesome, and they do like a conference, and it's for creatives, and they like, you know, do portfolio reviews and everything. But like, I just love their name. Like, here are the black people. Yes, we're in comic books. We're producers. We're musicians. We do like so many things, and I
Yeah.
just want to like show that, you know.
Yeah, definitely. I think that is definitely an issue.
Mm-hmm.
I think that at the end of the day, one can't get around the environment that we are in,
Right.
and the fact that there just are a lot of challenges that are still very much part of our society that aren't being addressed. I think there's definitely been ground gained. I think when it comes to the characters, I think that what Marvel has been able to do with the black characters in the new movies
Mm-hmm.
is pretty awesome.
Awesome, yeah.
Like I've been seriously
foaming at the
all
mouth for Black
cynicism,
Panther.
all cynicism. Yeah, legitimately. Like all cynicism aside, like I've been legitimately impressed. I remember I was with my friend and we were watching Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing movie.
And I remember like at one point, so we watched Civil War, and it was afterwards, and we ended up going to dinner we were with a few other people. We were all black, and we obviously ended up having a conversation about black people because we're all black.
Yeah.
So and we were all sitting at the dinner table, and we were like, we had this eureka moment where we kind of just came to the conclusion, man, you know, the black characters in Civil War are some of the dopest characters in the movie. Like Black Panther was this close to stealing the entire show
Mhm.
in Civil War.
Mhm.
He was that great.
He was that.
And
He
Falcon,
demanded that much attention.
Yeah, and-
Even his bodyguard, I was like, "Move or you shall be moved." I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh shit!" Like, I was like, "Who's this black woman? I want to be like you."
I want to
So-
see her move her.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and even Falcon, who in the comic books, I was never a big Falcon person.
Mhm.
To be honest, like I don't really care about the Falcon in the comic
Mhm.
books. In the movie, they've turned him into a great character.
Right.
He's a
Yeah.
great, he's a great foil
Yeah.
to Cap.
Yeah.
He was great in Winter Soldier.
Yeah, he was great in Winter
Best
Soldier
part of
too.
Winter
And it's
Soldier.
like, so you have this situation where these characters are like really prominent and cool, and then
And like
we were at a
important.
convention, was it last year or the year before? We were at a con, and some kid came to the con cosplaying as a black character, and it was a white boy. It was a white little boy, and it was like, you know, and that sounds probably like weird to a lot of people out there. I'm sure it sounds weird to a lot of white viewers.
Yep.
But speaking as a black person, you don't see that.
Yeah.
You don't
It was a girl. She was cosplaying as Storm, which I've never seen before.
But you know what's awesome about that? What's awesome about it is that, like, it proves that it's not black people who look at color first. It's them. And that the fact that these kids, they just see a person that they admire, and it's not because they're black. It's just because of the characteristics that person has that they're identifying with.
And that was definitely like a moment for me, because I mean, just trying, but I remember it very distinctly. Like, holy crap! These like little white kids that are coming dressed as like black characters.
I was like, Mom,
really
Daddy,
cool.
my favorite character is Storm. I want to be her.
Yeah, and that doesn't.
Who wouldn't want to be Storm?
Exactly.
And we're so used to seeing the reverse, you know.
Yeah.
So
especially in our community, I feel. But then that goes back to the original conversation we were having about why is it so important for us to see ourselves in like media, and because then we appreciate being who we are.
Yeah.
You know, we don't want to be like anyone else. We don't want to change our hair texture. We don't want to change go to extreme, change our complexion. Like, you know, like it's levels to
that stuff.
It's levels to this. So to push it forward, you guys are nominated for the first ever Ringo Awards, named for famed creator Mike Wieringo.
Yep.
And how do you guys feel about the nomination?
I think just being eligible for the process is just a big achievement for me personally, and I'm sure for Shaun too. It's just to be included in the conversation is just really dope, and just very grateful, and I'm proud we were able to see this thing through.
So go on Webtoons and vote for City of Walls. You can read it first, or you don't have to. You can just vote for them and say that they're joint.
Best webcomic, best new series, best webcomic.
Just subscribe.
Best writer, best illustration.
Exactly.
There's a ton of categories, but totally go up there and check it out. Have you guys won any other awards or honorary mentions?
Nah. I mean, it's, you know, and this
The
is, I'm not
indie
making
field,
like I'm not making excuses, but there's, you know, one of the more frustrating things about, for me, and I would assume for you too, Shaun, but one of the more frustrating things for me about this journey was so much work went into the creation, and in a business world, so much work has to go into the business, and we just were really short-handed on a lot of that other part of it. And you know, when it comes to awards, you know, there's a lot of lobbying and things,
Right.
and exposure.
Almost
Really.
like you need a PR team in order to like really push
and
yourselves out there, and you guys were just like, I gotta get this product finished.
you have to have a product to have PR for.
Right.
You know.
But it's done, and it's not too late to still push. You know.
So that's exactly. So that's the future.
Yeah. Do you plan to create any other work or do any other projects together?
I mean, I'm sure we're gonna work on stuff. I got a few things in my head. I'm sure Betta has a few things in his head. You know, we're gonna work on stuff together. Who knows? We'll do a little bit more, maybe another aspect of City Walls. You never know. You know, we work well together. I'm sure something's gonna come up.
Yeah, I definitely would work with Shaun again. There are definitely City Walls, and one thing that we talked about loosely that I would definitely like to do is like a City Walls anthology.
Yeah.
Hey, Enrica. The City Walls anthology where we more or less take the setting of the story, because it is a fully formed city. Like, we really put in the work to create a fully formed world that has rules that make sense, population demographics, and all those type of things. So, like, I mean, I have another City of Walls story that I'd like to tell. I don't know when I'll ever do it, but maybe I'll just do it as a writer, because thanks to Shaun, I've learned a lot about that process.
Yeah.
But like, have a serial killer story that I would really like
cool,
to do.
though. Yeah.
You know, and it doesn't have to be the story that we ended up telling.
Right.
It's a city.
It's a city
filled with citizens, and there's a lot of different things you can do. So we kicked around the idea of doing stories from City of Walls.
Right.
You know, putting that together is a whole different thing. But so yeah, we definitely did that. And I know for myself, like I have other things that I'm working on. Me and Mark are actually working on a project right now, which is pretty exciting.
Can you get details?
Yeah, I can't tell you. I can't get too specific because
I don't want you to break any disclosure rules.
Yeah, there's still things that need to line up.
Yeah.
But it basically follows a pair of magicians. And it takes place over the course of like 100 years.
That sounds so dope.
And so it starts in World War I and goes all the way up into like the 90s.
Wow.
Basically like the 2000s.
Okay.
So yeah, so we're working on that. Oh, and one of the magicians is black.
Nice.
So,
We did it again.
yeah, I just slid that in there. But so that's one, and I have another project that I'm developing, which I can talk about,
Okay.
called Kid Bubblegum.
Okay.
And that is like a much different type of project. I'm really excited for it. It's gonna be like a self-contained story with possible further adventures later. But right now, I'm just focusing on that. It's actually kind of a loose collab between me and my daughter.
Oh, yay!
And it's basically the main character is Kid Bubblegum, and she is a junior witch.
Okay.
And she basically is a detective, and it takes place in this post-apocalyptic world where something cataclysmic happened and ended civilization as we know it.
Okay.
What really happened isn't important. What is important is that the civilization that survived and emerged is one where nature has reclaimed the world.
Okay.
Man is no longer the dominant force. And along with that reclamation, magic reemerged.
Oh, great.
So our main character is this junior witch who is also the wildlife anomalies detective for her sector of the village, which means that any magical disturbances that happen that have to do with animals or nature, she's the person that gets
Investigates,
called. And she has two best friends, Flora, who's a dachshund hound, and Peloso, who is a giant house cat. And by giant, he's like the size of an elephant.
Oh, God.
And that's like the premise of...
That sounds like so... And like, I'm like, you telling me this and I'm like picturing it on film right now. Like, it sounds so dope.
Yeah,
I'm excited
it's
for
a
that.
lot of fun. It's different from City of Walls because I needed to do something that wasn't so serious. So it's lighthearted. It's a lot of fun. It is my nod to one of my favorite creators, Miyazaki, in a lot of ways.
I love him.
And,
He introduced me to Miyazaki.
Really?
Yeah, like when I stayed in a
Okay.
place in the city in Soho,
yeah.
his old place, and I watched my first films, and I was like, where was this all my life? like I haven't even shown my daughters yet those films
Yeah,
because they're like critical, like they're like amazing works of art.
Yeah.
Like I love it.
Just beautiful storytelling.
Beautiful storytelling.
And
Google it.
done in a way that it really kind of annoys me. It really kind of just saddens me is probably a better word that with a lot of Western animation.
We don't.
They basically approach it from the point of let's make something that we won't have mass suicides amongst the parents in the theater. Like that's their bar. Like they won't actually kill themselves before the movie's over.
Right.
Because of how unwatchable they are. Whereas with Miyazaki's approach,
You want to watch it.
you
whole
were
story.
engaged, you were fully there, and that is a very unique and amazing
Ability,
that
yeah.
he has.
And at any age, his body of work, it doesn't matter if you're a child and an adult. Like you.
It's Spirited Away, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Spirited Away, all that stuff.
So, are there any other comics or graphic novels that you guys are reading right now from up and coming artists that you would recommend?
From up and coming artists?
Yeah, like indie, independent.
Ooh.
That's a tough one, right?
Yeah.
Sean, you go first.
I don't know about up and coming, but I mean, there was one who was up and coming who turned up big now, Tom King.
Okay.
He used to do Nightwing when it wasn't selling, and then he jumped on Division, which was like a random character, and then his stuff is just better and better. He made it to Batman. That guy's amazing, Tom King. And even just, I mean, not that he's small or anything, but Robert Kirkman, like, no matter as big as Walking Dead does get, his comic book Walking Dead is still one of the best comics I read every 3 months when I get the trade. It's still good.
Yeah.
And it's in black and white. It's great.
Yeah.
The one comic book that I will endorse is Black Science.
Yeah, you like Black Science,
I
right?
love that comic book.
What's Black Science about?
It's awesome, man. It's basically you have this completely narcissistic jerk that happens to be a genius, and he creates this dimensional key that allows him and his team to jump from the parallel dimension to parallel dimension, and everything goes wrong. And
Of course it does.
yeah, and because well, first to begin with, he brings his kids, so A, mistake number one. B, he's having an affair with one of the scientists that he works with. Mistake number two. And then there's the fact that he's a jerk.
Yeah.
And everything goes wrong, and it's just a really because something that somebody told me a little while ago that stuck in my mind is that it's about the characters. It's all about the characters, and that book, the way that the characters are depicted and like the human flaws, just kind of really raw and exposed, really sells the whole story.
Yeah.
And,
Really authentic.
It's a really awesome book, and it takes a lot of twists and turns. Characters die, and because the parallel universe, they will literally get replaced with another version of themselves that might be better, might be worse.
Wow.
Like, it's really dope.
Yeah.
Really
And he
dope.
meets these like if someone died in one universe, he might run into them again in another universe.
Yeah.
But they're different.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like they made it's kind of like the whole metaphysics model where there's there's black, there's white, and everything in between. And since that is true for all things, so there's every variation of us existing somewhere. So he encounters those variations.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
Kind of reminds me of what was that show used to come on Fox? The guy.
There are a couple of things that have played with that.
Yeah, that play with that subject. Yeah.
Realities.
Yeah. So if someone wants to publish their own comic, what advice could you guys share? And you can go one at a time, or
I would just say make sure you really want to do it because it's gonna be a lot of work. I would also go with your strengths. So if you're really good at social media, I would just pump whatever you're doing like on social media, like whatever your strength is. If you're a really great artist, just keep doing images and throwing it out there. Just get your stuff done. Go to conventions. Anyone near you, if you can't get to New York Comic Con or San Diego, go to the smaller ones. Keep going. Get your stuff out there if you can. If you're an artist, like I said, keep doing your stuff. If you're a writer, I would definitely try to find an artist at least to do, even if it's just like a 5-page story that'll get your stuff out there so people can easily read it. I definitely recommend that. Get a really good printer because people will notice your work if it's like flimsy or not. And if you can't afford a printer like that, then do it digital and just like make sure you're stressing the digital aspect of your thing. So go with your strengths.
I would just have a few things to say. I'm really reticent on giving people advice. I think that number one, like really know what you're stepping into in terms of like where you are. This is a business, and the creative part of it is fun, but the business part is definitely necessary. And if you do not pay attention and give the business part its respect, we're going to suffer greatly. So there's that. And be honest with yourself about what you're trying to do. If you're trying to do this to create a lifestyle for yourself, then understand that that's what you're trying to do, and be prepared for what that may entail. If you're trying to do this as a hobby, it's completely different. The last thing I would say, I guess, is that know your strengths and your weaknesses, and do not hang your success on whether or not your Kickstarter gets funded. If you really are trying to do this, you really believe in what you're trying to do, you hang your success on being able to pay people to do things that you can't do
yourself,
and
yeah.
being prepared to pay people to
Yeah.
do the things that you can't do. And I think those are the, make good shit.
And
Make good stuff.
to piggyback off of that, and when you're saying invest in other creatives that can help you make your project, finish, complete it, like that just goes back to respecting not only the game but our industry. Like if I post something on social media and I know who's the creator of that image or whatsoever, I give credit in my caption because as a creative, I respect the craft, I respect the game.
Yeah.
So I think, I'm really happy you brought that in as advice because we have to respect each other, or people outside of our industry will not respect us. So thank you for bringing that in there. I know that you have taught art in low income and typically minority communities.
Yeah.
Did that experience give you a sense of contribution or like giving back?
It's interesting, yes and no. Now, because I'm actually about to start teaching at Harlem School of the Arts and at York.
Cool.
So now, yes, much more. When I was younger, not so much. When I was younger, it was about the money.
Yeah. Keeping it 100, like.
Keeping it real. But yeah, definitely. I one of the things that bothers me about kids in general, and specifically about minority kids in particular, because of the systemic disparities,
Right.
is this like a prolific amount of ignorance that just kind of is infused in the process that retards potential. So you have kids that might actually have what it takes to do these things, and they'll never get to do them because they just weren't exposed to somebody that told them, well, actually, if you really want to do this, you need to do this, or you need to read this. And a lot of the times, it's not like, especially in today's internet age, it's not like stuff that's walled off. It's stuff that's very accessible. It's stuff that you can really easily get your hands on just by having a smartphone sometimes. And like these kids don't know just because there's nobody there to tell them. And that like is a really important thing for me going forward. And
being the person that tells them.
And like in dealing and like mentoring kids that has become really important to me. That is like letting them know, like, okay, you want to draw comics, or you want to just be an illustrator in general, you gotta learn how to draw.
Right.
You gotta learn how to draw. You have to be able to do it well, and you have to be able to do it without relying on things that are easily taken away from you, like tech. And that's not necessarily a hard thing if you have the innate talent. If you have that which is all you need, then it just becomes about hard work and dedication, as Mayweather says.
Yeah.
It's just about being willing to spend the time to get better at what
Owning your craft,
And but a lot of it's stuff that I wish somebody had told me.
Right.
So I think it's definitely something that I spend time thinking about, and something that I see as important, because you really do have a whole. I mean, I went to an art high school that was down the block. That was down the block from one of the biggest comic book producers in the world, and up the a couple train stops away from the other biggest comic book producer in the world, and we never went to either of them. And we were in art high school.
Interesting.
And it's like, come on, man, like
no field trip.
Who's running the program here? Like, you should be punched in the back of the head because
Yeah,
you're
you
not
guys go to
doing your job.
museums?
We went to museums, sure, and I'm not gonna disqualify that or shit on that or like make light of that. You know, going to the Met. I remember I had a teacher who wasn't even an art teacher, was a social study teacher, and she had us going to the Met every week.
Awesome.
Which it wasn't awesome when it happened. Let me tell you, just being real about it. Like, what? Really? I gotta act. But whatever. But as if you're an educator and the purpose of your job is to give your students the tools to be able to succeed in a given field, and the apex of that field is down the block, and you as an institution don't use any of your clout to integrate your students so that they are familiar with this institution and have access to it, then you're not doing your job.
Right. It would be like if you go to art school, like you can just say SBA, or like if you go to Pratt or whatever, and like they don't have any relationships with alumni or like, and in the industry, and they don't bring them back into the fold.
Yeah.
It would be the equivalent of that.
Yeah.
And I totally get like that was a failure, especially if they had like a program like that.
Yeah. No, I went to an art school that is specifically an art school and has, to the point that it had different art majors within the high school.
Right.
And my major, nothing.
Yeah.
So it's if you run a school for law, and your school is next door to one of the biggest law firms in the state, and your kids that go to that school and participate in that program never go next door,
That's very
you
interesting.
should be fired.
Fail.
You fail as an administrator. That's just my opinion.
And I guess too, we can argue that that also could be lack of involvement of parents as well, and knowing what their children are getting in the schools or their programming. Like, honestly, I'm a parent. If I could homeschool my kids, I probably would, because
Oh, don't say that.
I would do it. I would, because I just started to lose all faith in the public school system.
Oh man.
But
I feel you. I know where you're coming from.
But do you think that art and writing programs can help Black youth like find purpose? Like for you, did you always know that you was gonna be a writer or you was gonna be an illustrator?
I don't know if I always knew. What I found out when I was reading comics, whatever, and then I realized, at some point you realize, oh wait, not the same person who draws this writes it, and you realize the different parts of different things. I think that's definitely useful in giving you like the basics, at least giving you the info you didn't even know you didn't know. You know what I mean? So I think that's great. And I also think it's just great in general because some people might think, oh, I don't have the skills to write, I can't draw, or I don't do this, but like there's always an audience for everything. Like it might be like what YouTube, as crazy as it is, has taught us, like there's always an audience for something. If something you do really well, whether it's write or draw, no matter how you do it, so there are some people who like grew up like you, who will like what you like and will like how you express it, and you just gotta get more out there. And I think those programs definitely help with that.
No, I agree with Shaun.
He's like, I'm done. So we're gonna wrap it up, but can you please tell our viewers where they can find and buy City of Walls, and share with everyone where they can find you on social media?
Well, I can definitely go to cityofwalls.com, our main website. We have a Facebook page. We looked up City of Walls on Facebook. Twitter, I'm at writer Shaun. Shaun is spelled S-H-A-U-N. Instagram, what do you have on Instagram there? We got City of Walls.
Yeah, we have City of Walls on Instagram. If you look up at City of Walls, you should find us. You can find me at a.k.lovelace on Instagram.
That's right.
And on Twitter you can find me at standalonepro. That's standalonepro. And again, City of Walls, cityofwalls.com.
Check out
that's the easiest way.
Yeah, check out
Buying
Webtoon.
Webtoon, obviously, definitely. Probably the best mobile platform for comic books.
Download Webtoon.
Go for
And
them.
at Red Style Media.
Red Stylo definitely has a lot of our stuff there. You literally want to buy it. So
Yeah,
definitely check
especially
out
if you
Red
want the
Stylo.
physical copy.
That's a brick and mortar.
Yeah, if you want the brick, and if you're one of them old school people like me, you like the feel of an actual book in your hands, then Red Stylo is the place to go.
Oh, and New York Comic Con this October. If you're there, we're gonna be there selling
Small press.
books. Small press. Check us out. Main floor. Be there.
Absolutely.
And you could follow me at Toya Design Co. or follow Toya Design Co. It's at Toya Design Co. on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, facebook.com/Toya Design Co. And of course the website is Toya Design Co. We have a whole lot more interesting guests coming up in the next couple of months, and please make sure that you like and subscribe to our new YouTube channel. Thank you, and stay tuned.
Ciao.